Have you ever stopped to think that your mind is a lot like a piece of steel? Not literally, of course, but in its potential. Today, we're diving into a really powerful idea, the concept that the power of your mind, your ability to create the life you want, depends entirely on how it's arranged on the inside.
So picture a plain old piece of steel. When it's demagnetized, its molecules are just scattered all over the place. It's weak, it can't lift anything. But when you magnetize that same piece of steel, all you're doing is aligning those molecules, getting them all to point in the same direction. And suddenly, it's a powerhouse. It can lift things many, many times its own weight. The key here is that the steel itself didn't change at all, only the arrangement of its parts. And this quote right here, it just nails the whole idea. The philosopher Neville Goddard said that this exact same principle applies to us, to our minds. You see, it's not that some people are born with better or more powerful minds. Now, we're all working with the same fundamental substance. The difference between a rich person and a poor person, a successful person and an unsuccessful one, is just the arrangement, the structure of their mind, how they organize their inner world.
Okay, so that's a fascinating idea, right? But how do we actually do it? How do you rearrange your own mind? Well, the answer lies in a concept that Goddard called the perfect law that sets you free, an idea he actually pulled from the book of James. So let's break down what that actually means. This is it, the perfect law of liberty. And it's a pretty radical idea when you think about it. It says you can free yourself from literally any limitation, not by struggling against your external circumstances, but by looking inward, into your own imagination, and having the sheer audacity to assume that what you want is already a done deal.
Now, this law really splits people into two groups, hearers and doers. A hearer is pretty passive. They look at their life, maybe they look in the mirror, they see what they don't like, they wish things were different, and then they just walk away and forget all about it. They fall right back into the same old patterns. But a doer? A doer is active. They look into this law of liberty, they decide what they want to be, and they assume that new state. They live in that feeling and they persevere in it until it becomes their actual physical reality.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. This might sound a little bit abstract, a little out there, but Goddard gives us this incredible personal story that serves as real, tangible proof of this principle in action. It's all about how he got out of the U.S. Army when all the doors seemed slammed shut. So let's set the scene. The year is 1942. Goddard gets drafted into the Army at 38 years old, leaving his wife and his little girl back in New York City. He is desperate to get back to them. So he does what you're supposed to do. He follows the proper channels and puts in a formal application for a discharge. And the answer he gets? A big, fat, stamped, disapproved from his colonel. That's it. He's stuck. He's hit a brick wall. And just look at this timeline. He gets the official rejection in March of 1943. Now, logically, that should be the end of the story, right? But it's not. Because that very same night, he decided to stop being a hearer of his circumstances and become a doer. He chose to live in his imagination as if he were already free. And what happens? Just 9 days later, the impossible happens.
So what did he actually do? He didn't fight. He didn't argue or appeal. He just rearranged his mind. As he was lying there in his army cot in the middle of Louisiana, he closed his eyes and, in his imagination, he wasn't there at all. He was in his own bed, in his apartment in New York. He imagined the feeling of his wife in the room next to him. He pictured his daughter sleeping in her crib. He mentally touched the familiar furniture until it felt absolutely, completely real to him.
And then, around 4 in the morning, something incredible happened. He had this inner vision. A hand appeared, and it literally scratched out the word disapproved on his papers and wrote in approved. And then a voice boomed in his mind, confirming that his inner work was finished. It said, "That which I have done, do nothing." The message was clear. It was a done deal.
Just 9 days. That's all it took. 9 days later, the very same colonel who had flat out rejected his application called him into his office and, out of the blue, tore up the old papers and gave him an honorable discharge. You see, Goddard's story is so much more than just a cool anecdote. It's actually a blueprint. So let's break that down into a clear, practical method that you and I can use to become a doer in our own lives.
So this is the big question for you right now. Where in your life do you feel trapped? It might not be by Army regulations, but by a job you don't like or a belief about yourself that's holding you back. Where could you apply this law of liberty? All right, here's the method, straight from the story. It's got 4 steps. Step 1, clarify your desire. You have to know exactly what you want. No vague wishes.
Step 2. Rearrange your mind. Create a short, simple scene in your imagination that would only happen after your wish was fulfilled. Step 3. Feel it as real. This is key. You have to get into that scene and feel the naturalness of it, like it's totally normal. And step 4, this is the big one, persevere. You have to persist in that new assumption, that new feeling, until it hardens into a fact in your world. This ancient line from the book of Joel just sums up the whole technique perfectly. Notice it doesn't say, let the weak man wait until he feels strong and then say he's strong. No, it says to declare it now. You claim the state you want to embody right here, right now, even if all your senses tell you it's not true. You assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled.
And that brings us right back to the beginning, full circle. The mind of a rich man, a poor man, a strong person, a weak person. It's all made of the exact same stuff, the same substance. The only thing that's different is the arrangement of the molecules, so to speak. So the question this leaves us with is a really powerful one. Knowing this, knowing you have the raw material, how are you going to arrange it?